Hey, what up, YouTube? I'm making this real quick. This is one of my anime joints. Um, and I just had a thought about it. I was in a discussion in this little Facebook group, and they were discussing, this guy. He's been posting up this tourney that's going on, a fight tournament. So he picks a fight from all we got so many different anime. Like he picks a good fight from that anime versus another fight from a different anime, and basically you vote in the comment section and whatnot. And I scrolled on a fight in particular. It was we get the Bakugo and Deku, or Midoriya, whichever one, Deku. The Bakugo versus Deku fight in season 1 of My Hero Academia. That fight from season 1 of My Hero Academia. That fight happened relatively earlier on, I want to say, in season 1. Because if I remember correctly, that fight had to have happened during like the entrance exams. Let me see if I can find the specific episode. That fight happened episode Deku versus Kachan. Why am I want an episode number? Episode 7. That was episode 7 of a fairly new anime. Now, if I remember correctly, that season itself was how many episodes were in that season? That was a why the hell is it set up like this? 1, 2, 3. Blah 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 blah. That was a 13 episode season. Okay, so that's 13 episodes in that season. So just a little over half of that season is when you get that fight. Season 2, as we know, that was the sports festival, and it's just now going into something else now. So we got that season. That season may end up being like a 24 episode type of season. I'm pretty sure. But season 1 was a bit more closer to the traditional 12 episodes, 13, and usually 12, because usually you get 12 and then you'll get another 12. And that can be a series right there. You just get them 24 episodes and it's split into 2 seasons. But episode 7 is when you get that fight with Deku versus Kachan. And I think I'm trying to see if that one episode was that whole fight. Can't remember. We're not going to watch it right now. I didn't watch it before I started making this video. But that's that fight. Keep in mind, season 1, episode 7. And they're going up against the Rock Lee slash the Rock Lee versus Kimimaro fight. Now, the guy who's putting the brackets together, this and the other, I asked him, I'm like, wait, are we doing this as Rock Lee versus Kimimaro? Or are we doing this as Rock Lee and Gaara versus Kimimaro? Because that is kind of what ruins that. It's already a landslide victory. It's already basically a landslide victory for multiple reasons. And I'm going to get into those in a second. But in reality, that was one big fight. It was Rock Lee, Gaara versus Kimimaro. Not at the same time exactly, but it was Rock Lee first. And then his ass almost died. We swap in Gaara. His ass almost died. So it's just one big fight. It's one really big fight. But if I'm looking at it correctly, it seems like it was split. And I was trying to ask, the dude who's putting the stuff together. I'm like, is this splits? Or are we talking about one consecutive, continuous fight? And he just didn't put Gaara's name on there? But I think he literally split it. Because I've seen other fights where it has multiple names, everybody who participated, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that's kind of a disadvantage when you split that fight into two separate fights. It's one fight, dude. Like, it's one fight. It's one fight, straight up. It's one fight. It's Gaara. No, it's Rock Lee, then Gaara, all versus the same dude. It's almost like a tag team match, except it was just more of like Gaara just tagged himself in permanently. Rock Lee, chill, before you end up dead as fuck. And they separated that. But this is what it got me thinking about. A couple different things. I went in, I had to make a comment. It was my opinion. I was like, Kimimaru, the Lee and Kimimaru fight is the better fight. Because in my mind, I'm counting it as Lee and Gaara versus Kimimaru. Not Rock Lee versus Kimimaru. And even then, if it's just the Rock Lee versus Kimimaru, in my mind, I'm like, that still may be the better damn fight than season 1 Bakugo versus Kachan. No, what the fuck am I saying? Bakugo is Kachan. Deku versus Bakugo. Or Deku versus Kachan. It really was. It really was. They're going like their rubric. There's 3 different areas they're trying to grade this on. It's animation, choreography, and story. Animation, I'll give it to My Hero Academia. I really will. I'll give it to My Hero Academia. I will. Because it's a bit newer. It has more of that comic book feel. There's a reason why this is easily one of the most popular shows right now. There's a reason why. It's the next, shonen. It's the next show that's going to be 100 plus something episodes. We're going to be watching it religiously. That's what this show is. Like, My Hero Academy, that's what it is. When you think about it, One Punch Man kind of set the stage. And then because season 2 of One Punch Man is essentially taking so damn long, My Hero Academia basically was able to come in and get the shine. Because, they will have put out 2 whole damn seasons of this show before One Punch Man. And I'm assuming maybe One Punch Man didn't expect to blow up like it did. So that's why they weren't so quick to be on it. But anyways, we're going based on, they're graded based on animation, choreography, and story. Story-wise, and a lot of folks keep saying, oh no, Deku and Kachan, their story's better. But I'm like, we only owe so many episodes into the damn thing. This fight happens episode 7. I want to say episode 6 going into 7. It's kind of sort of 2 episodes together, but 7 is the main fight. 6 is the build-up. And you get a slight background. But the thing is, that show is so young. The anime is still so young. The story is still so young. That you didn't truly even have a story yet. I'm like, you gotta think. It went from random kid not having a quirk, not having a power, to the biggest hero in all of hero history hands him down probably the most OP power in history. He trains, and then he magically gets himself into this hero school. And we're at that point in time when that fight happens, it's still midway through the first season. We're talking about episode 6 and 7. So it's not like, oh, this fight happens at the end of the season, like episode 12 and 13 or something. Because we know what happens at the end of that season. But I'm like, you can't say, in my honest opinion, it's like, you can't tell me that the story between those two is just so damn well developed at that damn point that it's the better story. No. You have Deku, we have his story, we have his background. He's the dude that we support. We're putting all of our, yeah, you can do it, dude. You got this. You got this. You're gonna be that next dude. We put all the hard work he's putting into this, and then we got Bakugo, who's a little asshole, who's looked down on him since forever and made fun of him, even though Deku has always kind of looked up to him as a friend and this, that, and the other, and has never had a fucked up thought about him. Like it's weird, but that really is the story between those two up until that point. That's basically the story between those two up until that point. You got one kid bullying the other kid, and then the other kid finally gets a quirk, and he's like, you gonna keep bullying me? That's the story between those two up until that point. How can you even say that that story is just so damn developed that it's the better story at that point in that anime compared to Kimimaro versus Lee and Gara? First, we get the background on Kimimaro. Basically, the dude was the chosen one before Sasuke. And to become Orochimaru's, the chosen one in a emotional, like, you had to have been a pretty damn high-leveled young ninja. And Kimimaro was that. The dude was so fucking OP that the creators had to kill him off via random fucking aids. Because they created a character and it was like, he might be actually too fucking strong. Because I will definitely say he could have killed Naruto. He probably could have even killed Sasuke. At that point in the anime, Kimimaro was much stronger than them. Keep in mind, in that fight, Kimimaro almost killed Lee and Gaara. So if we're counting the story, Naruto being out for a while already. We're in the Sasuke retrieval team Sound 5 arc. That's where we are when that fight happens. We have Kimimaro's story. We have the story of the retrieval team trying to get Sasuke. Are you really gonna say that the story of Deku, of young Deku, and young Bakugo is so much better of a story than that damn part of Naruto? Like, you can't be serious. Like, the anime just started. It was a relatively fresh new anime. And you're putting it up against... I'm not even a Naruto fan. I actually hate Naruto. But that Kimimaro fight, easily one of the best fights. Probably easily one of the most underrated. Not underrated, but one of the most overlooked. Because when you look at when people make their list of best fights in Naruto, in Shippuden, and, the first OG Naruto, a lot of times, people completely forget about the fucking Kimimaro fight. People completely forget it. I don't know how. That was my favorite fight. But people, like, you're riding this wave. It's a wave effect. You're more likely to pick the newer, more popular show. That's how it goes. You're more likely to pick the newer, more popular show, especially seeing that we're currently in the second season of My Hero Academia. So we just went through the sports festival. We just seen that rivalry between all of them intensify. And then you even add in a third character to that, little rivalry. You add in Todoroki. So now you got a third dude to add on to that. So we, in that whole debate, I also started thinking about something else. Because I'm like, it's funny that we're comparing, the fight is, it's a versus fight, which fight is better, My Hero Academia versus Naruto, essentially. And then I start to think, that the formula for a successful shonen, a successful show like Naruto, a successful show like My Hero Academia, because most likely it's going to have continued success. Like, I don't see it, tanking or anything like that all of a sudden. When you think about it, this may sound weird and crazy, but think about it. Because as I'm sitting here thinking about this comparison, I'm like, the hype on My Hero Academia, because trust me, I fucks with My Hero Academia. But you need to compare these two. Is Deku not the equivalent of Naruto? Is young Deku not the equivalent of young Naruto when that show first damn started? Naruto, outcast of the whole village. Nobody thought he'd be shit. Deku didn't even have a power. He was the laughingstock, bullied, this, that, and the other. Although he had these dreams of being a hero. Naruto, I'm gonna be the Hokage. These characters are very similar to each other. They're very similar to each other. Naruto is the main character of Naruto. And besides Naruto, who's the second fucking basically main character of Naruto? Who's the second most important character of Naruto? Oh, Sasuke. You can probably guess by now who I'm going to say the equivalent to Sasuke is. Bakugo. You have to have your character who the main character is a rival with, but the thing is, the rival is clearly far better in a sense. At least at the beginning of the show. That rival is better. He really is. You got Bakugo, I'm assuming, born with his quirk. He had always had his quirk. Actually, don't quote me on that. But Bakugo had his quirk. I'm trying to remember. I feel like they said Bakugo hadn't always had his quirk, but then it finally the switch went on and he finally got his quirk, and that's when the friendship between Deku and Kacchan, like that's when that friendship between those two deteriorated, and that's when Bakugo basically started becoming an asshole. If I remember, like I said, I'm not fresh off of watching the episode or reading the manga or any of that. I feel like it did go, because I feel like at one point they were friends. They were good friends. And I can't remember if Bakugo had his quirk yet. It was definitely when they were kids. They were friends. Kinda, sorta. I might be mixing stuff up. But I remember them at one point. They were actually friends. Then Bakugo became an asshole. Because he had his quirk. And Deku didn't have a quirk. But Deku still remained loyal. He was never an asshole. He never felt like less than, even though that's what Bakugo did every moment of his life, was essentially belittle Deku. Sasuke. Come on, man. Is Sasuke not the equivalent of what I just said? Sasuke, everybody knows Sasuke is that nigga. At the school that Deku and Bakugo were at before going to the Hero Academy, clearly, the school that they were at prior, it can be assumed that Bakugo was the top student. Bakugo was probably the most popular. Bakugo was that guy. Sasuke, top student, most popular, that guy. We have our Naruto, we have our Sasuke, Deku, Bakugo. You now have you have the two key ingredients. You have your two key ingredients for success. You have two characters, one that you love because he's the underdog, and then one that kind of grows on you. You literally have that. And then third, Let's introduce our Gara. Who's our Gara? Who is it? Oh, Todoroki. We have our now third damn person to throw in the mix, who is essentially equivalent and or better than our Sasuke. Because in reality, Todoroki definitely, I think you'd really count him as better than Bakugo. But Bakugo's will and drive is what kind of keeps them essentially around the same place. You got to think, in all of Naruto and shit, Sasuke probably had never run into anybody that was truly a major problem for him until we run into Gaara. But even then, if I remember correctly, it's during the Chunin exams. That's when we actually have Sasuke get hit with the curse mark. I can't even remember the damn Chunin exams. I don't even think Gaara and Sasuke ever even box like that. Because, you know, shit pops off. Gaara, he gets ready to go berserk. All that good stuff. And it's more of a Naruto versus Gaara type of thing. Even though in My Hero Academia, we did have Todoroki versus Bakugo. We had that fight. And we saw how things went down. But Todoroki and Gaara, two similar characters. We got two dudes who, I don't want to say they have this burden or this weight on their shoulders, but they're two guys who have an internal conflict. A big time internal conflict. We know the issue with Todoroki and the hatred he has for his father, the hatred he has for the left side of his body, the fire side. We know the internal conflict Gaara had. You know, we saw it. So the only character I can't really find the true equivalent for is, like, you know, Sasuke and Hinata, because it's almost like, okay, would you count Uraraka as Hinata or Sakura? And it's like, you want to say Sakura because she has more face time than Hinata did in Naruto. Like, you see Sakura, you know, she's a part of that main, you know, she's a more, I guess it's sad to say Sakura's more of a main character in the show. But we know Hinata is Naruto's love interest. And that's what makes it so confusing. That's why I can't really pin something. But you have, I guess at the end of the day, all you really need to do is have a girl there that has a love interest in somebody. Like, she either has a love interest in the main character or she has a love interest in another character. You know, it's one or the damn other. But in this case, she just so happens to like Deku, and Deku is so fucking in love with the hero lifestyle and studying and this, that, and the other, and learning everything he can, that he's completely oblivious to this shit for some reason. And yeah, so, you know, in that whole discussion we had, I'm like, that's when it clicked in my head and I came to that reality that My Hero Academia parallels Naruto in that one specific formula, that we have our characters that mirror these characters. We have our Deku, which is our Naruto. We, going based on kind of how the show is, you kind of know Deku is going to go on to be the greatest hero. Like, it says it in the freaking intro. This is my story to how I became the greatest hero ever. You know, we see what happens to Naruto. He eventually does become fucking Hokage. We see it happen. We got our Bakugo, our Sasuke. Now, shit, I don't know. And this is one of the things, though, because a lot of people think Bakugo might make a actual good villain. And if somewhere down the line Bakugo goes through this villain phase, it's fucking straight up Naruto. Like, I shit you not. It's literally we're gonna repackage Naruto, and you motherfuckers aren't even gonna realize it. I swear, if Bakugo becomes a villain, because we already were looking at Todoroki somewhat as a villain. We were already kind of not as a villain, but more of as this scary character, and that's what Gaara was. Gaara was somewhat of a villain-y type of dude who had a change of heart or more of an awakening, and he changed. They were able to change him. You know, he was able to overcome that internal conflict that he had, and that's kind of sort of what Todoroki's trying to do. So it's more of like My Hero Academia is doing it in a lot faster pace than Naruto did, because clearly Naruto was hella fucking episodes, and My Hero Academia is doing the same thing except in a far few less episodes. It's like we're just gonna speed this up, but we're gonna, recycle the formula. So that's what I just noticed. I really noticed that, like, that convo, that argument we were having, it made me think about that, because I'm like, what has truly contributed to this over the night popularity of My Hero Academia? When season 1 came out, it's like, what made it blow up the way it did? And it was because we had the damn Naruto effect. We had the underdog slowly but surely getting ready to become the number one. And he's charismatic, and he's positive, and he never gives up on his friends. And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Just look at it for what it is. And I swear, if Bakugo becomes a villain somewhere down the line, if he has this evil phase, they're literally just recycling Naruto. I mean, they're doing a good job at it, but it would be a recycle. And most folks wouldn't even think about it or realize it. Happens in anime all the time when you really think about it. Peace.